tonight.
And these are the people that are coming in when you're running out.
First responders from across the country.
It didn't get dispatched as a school shooting.
Come together in Chicago.
We lost the whole company.
A shared sacrifice among firefighters and police officers.
I want to invite Omaha. We want them to know we care.
The death of an Omaha police officer igniting a movement.
Several days have passed and the pain is still great, but her legacy grows larger across all 50 states.
For the next half hour, from WOWT 6 News.
That poem reached over 10 million people.
Brian Mastry reports. Linked through tragedy. From 9/11 and Sandy Hook to Kerry Orozco.
Good evening. I'm Brian Mastry, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois. We are on the rooftop of the Navy Pier overlooking Lake Michigan. We are in safe hands tonight as dozens of first responders from around the country have gathered here to reflect on major events that have happened in their communities, from the 9/11 terrorist attacks to an elementary school shooting. And they're talking about the different ways they dealt with it.
We got some people from the police department from Omaha, Nebraska that are joining us tonight. And we invited them this year because of an incident, a horrible incident, with one of their officers named Kerry Orozco.
By now, many of us in Omaha know the tragic story of Officer Kerry Orozco, who was shot and killed in the line of duty a few months ago by a fleeing suspect. She was 1 hour away from going on maternity leave and taking a break hunting fugitives. Her newborn daughter, Olivia, was finally healthy enough to go home from the neonatal intensive care unit, a place she'd spent 3 months after being born premature.
But we got first responders from Sandy Hook.
But for most of the first responders assembled for the fundraiser in Chicago and the celebrities brought in to raise the profile, they're just beginning to learn about what made Officer Orozco tick.
It was a very moving to me. And the way that the people responded here, like I said, nobody here knows us, nobody knows Kerry.
Officer Bob Laney first spotted the fugitive the afternoon of May 20th, just west of 30th and Martin Avenue. Marcus Wheeler was back in town and wanted for his involvement in a previous shooting. During the getaway in between houses, one of his bullets hit Officer Laney's car door.
Kerry wasn't a person that liked a lot of publicity about herself. That's why we found out so many good things about her after her death.
Sergeant Jeff Kopitz returned fire, killing the suspect as he unleashed a second flurry of shots at police. An ambulance whisked Officer Kerry Orozco to the hospital. She had been hit in the chest just above her bulletproof vest. Only later did we learn that Officer Chad Schroeder sat with her inside the squad as medics tried to save her life.
It was the worst thing that happened to me, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I mean, I feel blessed that I was there.
On this August Saturday night in Chicago, in front of hundreds of police officers and firefighters from places like New York, New York, and Newtown, Connecticut, the moment starts to sink in for Officer Chad Schroeder. His nerves are getting the best of him.
Is that better?
He's been asked to read the poem he wrote about the ambulance ride and his final moments with Kerry Orozco.
I've only read this twice out loud, so I might have to pause for a second. But
his colleagues who traveled with him had read the poem. However, they'd never heard the words directly from the author.
The name of the poem is 3 Minute Ride, and it was, I wrote it about my ambulance ride with Kerry that day. I stepped into the ambulance in total disbelief. It would be a 3-minute ride full of heartache and grief. I'd taken this ride before, but never with one of our own. This ride was different, and it sent a chill to the bone. I knelt down and brushed the hair from Kerry's face. I watched the medics go to work at an incredible pace. The look on our faces was nothing I can explain. As tears started pouring, our hearts filled with pain. Before I knew it, 1 minute had passed. Medics were still trying, working so fast. I began to question myself and question the cause, but then remembered Kerry loved our job and would never show pause. 2 minutes in, I felt overwhelming sorrow as I realized we had no more time to borrow. It was time to talk to Kerry and give her some peace. She needed to know so her spirit could release. I got as close as I could and I whispered in her ear, "We love you, Kerry. You have nothing to fear. For your ultimate sacrifice, it is our duty to atone. Your family is now our family, and we will cherish them as our own." Shortly thereafter, the ride came to an end. It may take forever for our hearts to mend. If you have ever met Kerry, consider yourself blessed. She is one in a million. and she passed his final test. Now it is our job to leave no doubt, absolute zero, to pass on to Olivia that her mom is our hero. Several days have passed and the pain is still great, but her legacy grows larger across all 50 states. So many life lessons for my police sisters and brothers. Carrie taught us to think less of self and do more for others. We need not look far, and I would suggest Carrie is a role model, the best of the best. She will always be with us, looking down with her smile. Angels like Carrie make this job worthwhile. Thank you.
Organizers wanted everyone to hear Officer Schroeder's poem as a reminder to why they're here in Chicago for a weekend getaway, to take comfort in shared experiences.
It was important for me to, be able to read it in front of these two who are, directly involved in the incident. I got there right after, it happened, so it meant a lot to me to say it in front of these guys too.
I didn't look around a lot because I was dealing with my emotions, listening to Chad say it. I've read it, but it's had a lot different feeling when you heard it being spoken out loud.
It was moving. I mean, everybody, a lot of tears were shed.
I noticed during the evening a number of people came up to him and congratulated him for what he did and thanked him for writing the poem.
Ray Somberg, president of Omaha's First Responders Foundation, waited for Officer Schroeder as he walked off stage.
I asked him if it's something that he thinks about a lot, and he said, a lot. It's just one of those things that I'm sure it'll just never go out of his thinking, really.
Coming up.
I actually ran into him later in the night and told him, I said, that was one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
First responders explained the importance of their bond.
I think I have a perspective to know what it's like when your whole world is just turned upside down.
And what can the survivors teach the rest of us? When Brian Mastery reports, Linked Through Tragedy returns.
When Omaha police officer Carrie Orozco was laid to rest in May, officers from across the country honored her by being present. They grieved and mourned. Rain could not deter the thin blue line.
I've been through probably about 20 funerals throughout the country. This, I have to say, is the biggest turnout I've seen as far as the community coming together.
Chicago police officer Rick Caballero formed Brotherhood for the Fallen 5 years ago, a pledge to attend funerals of officers killed in the line of duty. And as he told me, there have been way too many of these lately.
I know some Chicago police officers that went to Omaha for Carrie's funeral.
Betsy Shepard, who was born in Grand Island and grew up in Lincoln, heard about the new mom protecting the public from dangerous fugitives, how she never got to take her daughter home from the hospital, and the movement to carry on the positive attributes of volunteering. As the police chief said, Carrie Orozco's legacy may be her ability to break down barriers.
We want them to know we care.
We're both from the Newtown Police Department.
That's how Omaha police officers ended up sharing the same stage with tragedies of a much larger scale. The Chicago get-together began 3 years ago in response to the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, where 20 children were murdered.
I thought about the first responders that went into that school and saw their neighbors' kids dead on their floor of their school. It's just awful.
Everything that we're raising from your support with the sponsorships, we spent between Sandy Hook, Newtown, Omaha.
So with some help from her Chicago celebrity friends, she organized the fundraiser.
It was just a great bonding.
Newtown Police Sergeant Era Bahamonde has attended every year.
Stuff like this kind of lets you have a time out and realize, you know what, there is a lot of good people out there that care about us, and you want us to know that. It's another Band-Aid to try to progress you through this time, which I would expect it's going to take 10, 20, if not the rest of my life, unfortunately, to get through.
In December 2012, it was all hands on deck when the shooting call came in to Sandy Hook Elementary. A single gunman had methodically worked his way from classroom to classroom. Newtown's police department is small, 45 officers. Omaha has more than 800. The sergeant understands, even with the difference, tragedy links them.
And I heard that poem last night and I got goosebumps because it was just, you could just tell it was from the heart. I know and can relate to his pain that he's feeling. And after that, and I had to go give him a hug and shake his hand because, and just let him know that we hurt with him.
Perspective also comes from Liam Flaherty.
This is the life we chose.
He's a New York City firefighter spending the weekend with Chicago's finest. The captain is forever linked with a date, September 11th.
I got off the night before. The tour that relieved me, the night tour, they were all. We lost the whole company. Unfortunately, yeah. It was, worst day of, life-changing day. We worked day and night on recovery. I also played in the pipe band, which is we did over 500 services and funerals, and then, we had to rebuild the firehouse, and we had to rebuild the company. So it was definitely hands-on, all hands on deck for at least a year, afterwards.
Flaherty is still a New York City firefighter, but the 14 years of living and thinking has allowed him to benefit others.
Everybody reacts to tragedy different. Some people, need to be talked to. Some people just want to stay away from, and that's one thing I definitely realized from going through all of that. Everybody's wired differently. It's kind of nice in a way to take that dealing with tragedy and turn it into something positive where you can counsel and console people.
As the Omaha officers gather at the Navy Pier in Chicago, with brothers and sisters around the country marked by national tragedies, there's a certain peace that comes with it.
You were with the other first responders, they know exactly what we're going through, so it's just kind of a lot of unsaid words, and they know our feelings, and you don't have to get into a lot of specifics, but knowing that we've got these people backing us, and they're there for us, and they're letting us know that they appreciate us.
When we come back, the Omaha Police Department's goals for setting up a booth at this golf tournament in Chicago.
And we noticed a really bad trend in the country.
When linked through tragedy, from 9/11 and Sandy Hook to Kerry Orozco returns.
Since the death of Omaha police officer Kerry Orozco, the hashtag #SupportBlue started to go nationwide. It's on display here in Chicago, too. Many believe the Support Blue phrase and the death of Kerry Orozco go hand in hand. But a month before her death, representatives from the Omaha Police Department and the First Responders Foundation met with a local public relations firm to come up with a general marketing campaign.
We noticed a really bad trend in the country, and that trend was the disrespect of law enforcement. The men and women who protect us 24/7 and many who give their lives do not deserve what's going on in the media and across the country. So we're standing up against that, and we've started Support Blue, which is a movement across the country to change what is happening around the country and to bring respect back to law enforcement.
You really think you're onto something here, don't you?
There's been a lot of, as everybody knows, negativity about police officers around the country, Ferguson, Missouri, and New York and Baltimore and all. We feel that the vast majority of police officers do act properly and follow the rules and are conscientious in what they do. And some of these unfortunate circumstances are blown up, and some people feel that a lot of police officers act improperly, and that's just not true.
As the Omaha police officers get ready for a laid-back time on the Chicago area golf course, they hear a somber reminder of the purpose for being here. Bagpipes, a traditional way police and fire departments honor their fallen comrades. When it comes to the phrase Support Blue, it doesn't mean blanket backing of an officer, even in the face of incriminating evidence. It's about public assurance that the ones with no involvement in an incident aren't automatically lumped in or assumed they would do the same thing.
There's bad apples in every bunch. Doesn't matter. That's human nature. So if we can pick the bad ones out and get them out, we should.
The brothers and sisters on the NYPD and the police and law enforcement in general in the United States right now are taking, like you said, a shellacking, and I disagree with it. I'm just hoping that pendulum swings back, because nobody calls 911 to invite you to a party. They're like, when someone dials 911, they're having the worst day of their life.
Coming up,
Well, I don't think golf is necessary at this tournament. You don't have to play at all.
actors and first responders letting off steam.
Sold to Willie Lump Lump, Bill Murray.
And what happens during a fundraiser when the host's famous brother decides to bid? When Brian Mastry Reports returns.
As a way to broaden the message of allegiance for all law enforcement,
See if we can get some momentum behind it.
everyone in the golf tournament received a Support Blue t-shirt, celebrities included.
You'll have a better time if you go play blackjack.
What? Play blackjack? Oh,
Yes.
we got to do that. You know,
Yes.
why not gamble on a golf course?
And,
That's,
and how about a Support Blue shirt?
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Mark Moses made a name for himself on the hit TV shows Desperate Housewives and Mad Men. That's part of the vacation of the mind for first responders. Golf and hang out with people they've seen on TV or the big screen.
It actually could be close.
Such as Mike Starr from Dumb and Dumber and Goodfellas, Jack McGee from the film Backdraft, or the cast of Chicago Fire and Chicago PD. In its third year now, no one knew if the plan for this getaway would work.
Joel, I want to bring first responders to Chicago. Let's show them a good time. Let's take them on golfing, and let's raise money for their charities. And he said, what, you can't find a bigger name? And I'm like, yeah, your brother's busy. So.
And these are the people.
Joel is Joel Murray. He's also an actor, but often referred to as Bill Murray's brother. Where they play the tournament, the golf course in Evanston, Illinois, is the same public course the Murray boys played as kids. No doubt this place fostered some of the comedy in the movie Caddyshack. The first responders have embraced this whole idea of a fundraiser too.
At first, they're really confused as to what's going on because they think they're going to have to do something, or there's going to be a competition, or they don't know what's going on. And then they find out, no, the whole deal is we just want you to come to Chicago, our favorite city in the world, and just have a really good time for the weekend. And they're just kind of always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, no, that's it. We just want you to have a really good time.
And while his brother Bill could not attend, joking that it was nice he could find work, he was texting bids during the live auction.
Would you tell Bill that somebody just made a Dick Butkus-like bid in the back of the room?
The hockey stick, signed by every member of the champion Chicago Blackhawks, is now his.
$7,500 from Bill Murray.
Humor is one way first responders cope with the disturbing things they see daily, so this Chicago stage is fitting in that respect.
Her cause is something blue. What is it? Support Blue, which is kind of why we're here. Support Blue, Cubby Blue. It should be easy to remember, Joel.
Put Carrie's shirt around the clubs. That's why we're all here.
As the Omaha cops prepare their little-used golf clubs, no one's looking for course records in this bunch. In every aspect of the trip, there's no pressure.
You're from Omaha, yeah. Thank you for being what you are. Nobody asks you what happened, why you're here, you know, what you're representing, and that's been very nice.
That's why we became cops, to protect and serve, and sometimes that's what our comfort zone is, doing our day-to-day job without all the extra static.
As tears started pouring, our hearts filled with pain.
A day later, many in the crowd, from first responders to those who played one on TV, still felt moved by the poem.
So many life lessons for my police sisters and brothers. Carrie taught us to think less of self and do more for others. We need not look far, and I would suggest Carrie is a role model, the best of the best.
The 3-minute ambulance ride down 30th Street, and what it all means moving forward for all of us.
You talk about heartfelt. You talk about coming from deep inside your soul. That was amazing. And I think it helps everybody to hear that, you know, and it helps him to heal, helps Omaha to heal, helps all of us to heal.
From the challenges we face together as a nation to those events closer to our neighborhoods. For these first responders, it's more than a job. With photographer Jim Hinchuk, I'm Brian Mastry reporting from Chicago, Illinois. Until next time.